Sorry if my hair looks like this. I've been wearing headphones all day. So, what do I talk about? So, in this video, I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to show you all my photos that I submitted for UCLA. I'm also going to tell you I'm also going to show you other photos that I've also would have submitted, which were, which I felt were as good for my application. So yeah, so starting on your application, you're going to want, you want to tell the college you want to go to, like, your skill level. So I showed film, instant film, and digital mediums as in like, as in like clothes, how there's like nylon and cotton, like all, it's like the different types of photography styles. So I submitted one instant film and one film, and then the rest of them were digital. So for UCLA, I wanted to show them the most of my capabilities. UCLA allowed me to submit 10. They allowed me to submit 10. UC San Diego, they allowed me to submit 4, surprisingly. Santa Barbara was 20. Cal State Poly was like around 20 as well. So basically, for me, I was like everywhere at school. Like, you would not see me a single day without carrying a camera around. I'd be, doing work for yearbook, for council, all that type of stuff. So I'd be shooting sports, events, all that stuff. So for this one, this was my first photo. It's called Faster, Stronger, Better. So my whole theme, for every portfolio, you need like an overall arcing theme for it to work all together, for all your photos to tell a message, to like work around, and to tell your audience like a specific idea you want. It doesn't matter. It can be like about like how you think about a particular thing or event. It could just be a message that you yourself feel that is different from what others feel. So this was my first image. It's called Faster, Better, Stronger. My overall theme was around isolation and how people usually think it as a bad thing, but I think about it as a liberating sense to the mind and how it like eases itself. So it's, it's kind of tied in with psychology. Even though I've never taken psychology classes, I did not realize that you had to make a title for all of your images, and I did not know that you had to do titles. So I had some certain, for some photos I had certain titles in mind, but for others I just did not know. So they make you put the title, the year, the size of your image, and then the medium of the image, and then a description. So for this one, mine was Faster, Better, Stronger. What I really liked about this image is that when you're swimming, and I come from this, I was on the swimming team. So when you're swimming and you want to beat the guy next to you, don't worry about him. You worry about yourself. So it really isolates your mind to really focus on yourself and not worry about anyone else or compare the people around you to, have you at your best. That's what I really liked about this. How the subject was in the middle, and there wasn't like anyone around him. It was just the crowd in the back, which he was swimming away from, which I really liked. The description I put on this was, being on the swim team myself, I wore a parka with my swimsuit underneath, picking up my camera once I finished my race, and sat down for the swimmers to swim butterfly. With the swimmers surging both hands through the water, the arms provided balance, while the face expression presented power and intensity. So for the description, what you really want to put is that, like, how you like this image and you know, the what it was really like then when you took the image. So like how you took the image basically, and what made you think that this image was good. Okay, next image. So this one was shot on 35mm film with this camera right here. BC gave that one to me for me to use, and I just, I was using the Kodak Color 200 film for this shot. So this one I titled One Above All. So it's just this one towering building over all the other buildings, and you can only see this one building, which I really liked. It provided a sense of like how high you can go when you are by yourself. For the size of 35mm film, I put 36 by 24 millimeters. So yeah, I just found that online, the dimensions. I didn't make them. But for the description, I put, walking through the concrete jungle of San Francisco, I see the individual skyscraper tower over me as it basks in the sun, with the solid blue sky acting as a canvas. I study the individual windows as they become smaller and smaller to create the building as a whole. So there's a little bit of irony in this photo, because there's so many little windows that create this one whole. So it kind of puts irony between like a crowd of things, in this case windows, creates one big, larger subject. Next year, the next photo, this one's digital. This was taken of my friend Jared. He was kind enough to model for me. This was during senior sunrise. For most of these, I either shot on my Canon 80D, which was the school's, or I had my own A6000, which I still have somewhere. It's in the other room. But this one, I didn't have a particular title for it, so I named it 7:41 a.m. because that was the time the picture was taken. But I also really liked how the title and the time really, separated another individual's 7:41 a.m. from this person's. Really makes his life stand out more, and how his everyday 7:41 a.m. is different from others. Instead of sleeping in, he's out here in his pajamas in the sun, which was, I found, really, really, really interesting for anyone. Out in the middle of the field, he's just standing there, not looking. He's just looking into the distance, and his individualism. Basically, for my description, I put, his name is Jared. Personally, knowing Jared, I see him rather odd and different from the rest, and really appreciate it. So, yeah, Jared's a really cool guy. He's not the type who'd be like, oh my god, hey, but he was different from everybody, and that's one of the reasons why I thought the individualistic approach would match better with his subject if I related my personal experience with him. This one, I just like the individual. Okay, so let's start with the title. This title is Let Go. It's a 2000 by 4000 image. So what I wanted to show to, UCLA was that unique approach towards cropping an image. So it doesn't matter. You can crop an image however you want. It's just if the picture shows a message and if it means something to you. So this one's also digital. I put, during my latest ski trip to Reno, I saw a pair of skis and poles buried in the snow. I photographed it, appreciating its sense of independence and peace. So for this one, I really liked how it was like the poles were standing up, the skis were there, as if someone was standing there in its place, you know, with the poles and the skis on, but there isn't. So what I really wanted to show was that how the pole was isolated itself from the rest, and how, you know, the white shows contrast between the pole, the black pole, and how there could have been someone there, which I, you know, cropped it to more like a portrait rather than a landscape. For this one, I took a picture of my book room because I really like how like the sunlight and like the shapes and like the really sunny vibe, and how the sun was shining a particular angle through the window, and I purposely made my room a little bit messier to put like a little bit more like personality. But what I liked about this photo was that it really isolates someone's personality, compared, well, no, not comparing, but it really isolates someone and their personality by just putting the viewer in the perspective of his room. So this one I named Spirit. It's 6,000 by 400 or 6,000 by 4,000 digital. And then for the description I put, on a cozy afternoon in the middle of summer, I sit in the corner of my room admiring a nostalgic feeling. Seeing the sunlight cut through the window, it reminded me of my old home back in San Francisco. Remembering how the sunlight would do the same from the bathroom window. So yeah, this photo I really connected with my personal self, and how it makes me feel and why the photo is important to me. Geez, it kind of looks weird if my hand bends like this, doesn't it? Whatever. If you're still watching, a little tip, put all of your photos, whatever you want to consider, onto Google Drive, and then just star them. So for every image, like how much I would like it, if I liked it the most and I would want it to be in my portfolio the most, I'd name it 5 stars, and then the least would be 1 star. Good. So the next photo I took during, so most of these photos I took during senior year, and the bottom half or the bottom end of junior year. Timing's also really important, so if you are trying to build a portfolio, start as soon as possible, but it's whatever. So for this one, I named it Peaking. So the person in the middle raising his arm with the air horn, he really expresses much more emotion than people around him. It's that feeling you get when it's just you inside, and how isolated from the crowd you feel inside, how powerful you feel. So this one, for the description, I put, on the day of my junior year Spirit Day, or Spirit Day because we have a whole Spirit Week, but this day was our day. I shot photos of my class to document the spirit of my class, for yearbook. It was a little bit repetitive there. I could have worked on that. Out of approximately 2,000 photos I shot, this image best encapsulates the intensity of that day. So if you don't know, Spirit Week is like the most hype week of, any day or week of our whole entire school year. Like Spirit Week, everyone is just, they're all onto it for some reason. I don't know why. So this next photo, which is probably one of my favorite all-time photos that I've taken on the Polaroid. But this one I named Muted, and I really liked how what's it called again? Composition, right, composition. I really like the composition of this photo. This photo was actually a photo of the public restroom. It just looked like a lodge, but I really, made the most out of that lodge and, took this image, which I really, really liked. Instant film, so for the Polaroid regular, what's it called? It's not I-type, it's the other type with the batteries. But this was 3.0625 inches by 3.125 inches. So there you go. If you're looking for the dimensions, there's the dimensions. But for the medium, I put instant film. And then for the description, this photo taken on my vintage Polaroid 600 film, that's what it was. Polaroid 600 Camo Business Edition. I enjoyed the soft colors the film had presented similarly with the softness of the snow that rested upon the house, which was really a restroom. Don't say that it's actually a restroom, because then it'd give the audience a different feeling. But this house looks, probably, maybe someone lives up there, who knows. But yeah, I really like the individualistic approach of how one person, and behind him were all those trees, so you would know that he lives in the woods or something. But I really liked how the person who lived here was isolated from, a suburban area or like a city. Really takes his time away from, our everyday society, and how we're all jumbled up in, small housing and all that, which I really liked. But yeah, it's a really cool place. Okay, so this one was probably one of my proudest ones during 2018. It's called Between the Two Cities. I actually have a giant print of it up there, but this medium is also digital. It's also digital. Its description is taken on my road trip back from Reno. I spotted a house in the distance, resting on the hills on a soft, cloudy afternoon, wondering why the owner would choose to live in this unique setting. So what I really liked is that how we were traveling from, the ski resort from, Reno, and how there was this one house in the middle of it all. There's a bunch of houses like these, but I just saw this when I was driving by in the car. The window was up, so I had the kit lens with me. That's why the foreground is so blurry, because I was on the lowest f-stop, which I think was like 3 point something f-stop. But yeah, we were going really fast too. But what I really liked about this was how you can see all those telephone wires, and how I think that it resembles kind of like a crossfire between like two cities, and how this one house was just in the middle of it all, peaceful. It's like World War I and II, and then the house is like Switzerland, if you get what I mean. This one is probably one of my favorite photos, or favorite self-portraits of all time. So this one I shot on the Canon 80D. This one I also know. I used, it's self-portrait. I was, during yearbook, we would go across classrooms and we'd have multiple classrooms that we'd use. So we were in the lab, we were in the computer lab, and then I would walk back to, the classroom where all the cameras are stored. Back on track. Just be careful with your camera. Don't trust everyone. Yeah, that's it. So for this one, the classroom was empty. It was just me, and it was, I was really rested upon the dark environment and the isolation and peace of, the room and myself. So the description is, I took the self-portrait in the yearbook room. I was mesmerized by the darkness and the quietness of the room, generating a perfect setting for self-reflection. I loved the window, how the window, curtains, and light had joined in harmony to produce a balanced, natural frame for the subject, which was me. Yeah, not much else to say. It's pretty self-explanatory with isolation. So this one I named Away from the War. War as in like the noisiness of, our society today. And like if you would stand in the middle of New York City, it'd feel like a war. But I don't really live in New York City, but it's, it feels like a war because like everyone's like trying to like, just get on with their lives, and like we're all just like cluttering against each other. Which I thought was like a war. But then this was when I went peach picking with my family. I doubted that I was gonna get some nice peach picks, but I took this instead, which I really do not regret. So if you are looking to get a good portfolio, bring your camera wherever you go, because you are not going to regret it. So for this one, I said Away from the War. So, he's just out in the fields, by himself. Description is, this photo was taken during an apple picking trip, which was really a peach picking trip. Oops. While my parents were picking apples, I was too occupied with shooting different angles of the farmer's home, wondering what life was like living far away from the city. So yeah, isolation. This one was from Christmas in the Park. If you don't live in the Bay Area, what Christmas in the Park is, it's like a mini carnival basically. Around Christmas, they're famous for their hot cocos, and it's like a mini market. So this one I named The Trade, mainly because you're trading money for a ticket, but I really liked how this woman was there by herself, and then I really liked the lighting of this photo. If you don't know already, I really like silhouettes. Description is, I took this photo at a miniature carnival near Christmas Eve. The silhouette of the woman and the dystopian-like ticket sign is what makes the photograph most prominent to me. Something I wish I could have done was to take the exact same photo, but on 35 millimeter film to exaggerate the 1980s look. So yeah, when you are taking photos, something that you can acknowledge is something that you can work on. That shows self-improvement to, your college or whatever. And this one I think is last photo. So this one is Burning Passion. Why I named it Burning Passion? Because people usually say passion as it's burning. But what I really liked about this, so I was by myself. I was practicing with steel wool. steel wool like this. Yeah, you can buy it at like Home Depot or Lowe's or any other place that like is, I don't know. But then what you have to like, what I had to make myself was like, I had to get like the metal wiring and like make my own little basket to hold the little, what's it called? To hold the wool. So when I'd set it on fire and I swing it around, it actually like, the sparks would actually fly, which I thought was the hardest part. But you know, you've seen on internet, like there's a bunch of these images, but what makes mine so special is that it's basically how it makes you feel. So what I really liked about this photo is that how it like kind of generated like a heart. I was just spinning the wool randomly and like I burned myself too, and like a spark caught on fire. And then like I had a little hole in my shirt, but you know, it's worth it. YOLO. But I said after experimenting with new techniques with long exposures, I finally painted one I was satisfied with. What appealed to me the most was the outcome and how I spun the steel wool, producing a heart-shaped fireball, flinging bright, warm sparks in the middle of the darkness. What I could have done better was not taking it in the middle of my street. I could have went, you know, somewhere more isolated so I wouldn't have the extra lights in the background, but you know, that's all right. Yeah, but I did tell them, in case they didn't catch on, that it did generate a heart shape. But art is really what the audience, how the heart was isolated from all the darkness around it. Similar to me, when I was in high school, you know, not a lot of people believed in me, but I had a burning passion that I would, you know, become a successful photographer, because I'm not an actual photographer yet. I'm just, you know, I'm learning still. Don't call yourself a photographer unless, you know, like you're professional or something. So that bugs me a lot. But yeah, those are all my photos. I'm gonna show you some of my other ones, which I would include. Quick note, UCLA, the professors did say, we had like a little call, but they did say that they personally went through all the photos. So they went through all the applicants and they went through all their photos. And if that doesn't scare you, I don't know what does. So yeah, make this portfolio good. If you guys do have questions, you guys can, you know, put some more, put your questions in the comments. And yeah, that's basically it. I'll show you some more right now.